Let's get one thing straight right now. The Minnesota Vikings are sitting at the center of the most chaotic, most dramatic, most absolutely unhinged collection of NFL storylines this offseason has produced. There are blockbuster trade rumors swirling around the best receiver on the planet. There's a former Vikings quarterback who just threw some serious shade at the organization he left behind. There are analysts out there boldly claiming that the greatest receiver in NFL history through 6 seasons is somehow declining. And quietly, beneath all of that noise, there's a move brewing in Minnesota that could quietly transform the defense before a single regular season snap is played. Training camp is right around the corner. The purple and gold faithful are on the edge of their seats. And today we are breaking it all down. Buckle up, Vikings Nation, because this offseason just got wild. Let's start with a move that nobody saw coming, but everybody should be paying attention to. When the Vikings shipped Jonathan Greenard off to the Philadelphia Eagles earlier this offseason, the reaction was mixed. Some fans were frustrated, some were okay with it. But everyone understood the reality. Minnesota needed to replace those pass-rushing snaps, and they needed to do it fast. What nobody fully predicted was the name that would emerge as the most compelling option on the trade market. His name is Kayvon Thibodeaux, and right now the entire football world is watching to see if Brian Flores and the Vikings brass are seriously going to make a phone call to New Jersey. Here is the backstory for anyone who needs it. Thibodeaux was selected 5th overall in the 2022 NFL Draft. He was supposed to be the next great pass rusher in the NFL. In 2023, he delivered, absolutely exploding for 11.5 sacks and reminding everyone why the Giants spent that premium draft capital on him. Then something happened. His production fell off a cliff. He finished 2025 with just 2.5 sacks in only 10 games before a shoulder injury ended his season early. Now he is sitting on a 5th-year option worth nearly $15 million with no long-term extension anywhere close to being agreed upon. The Giants have Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and newly drafted Arvell Reese ahead of him on the depth chart, which basically means Thibodeaux is a very expensive man without a defined role. New York already turned down a 4th-round offer, reportedly holding out for something closer to a 2nd-round pick. But here is the reality of the market. Nobody is paying a 2nd-round pick for a guy who had 2.5 sacks last season. The sweet spot, if a deal happens at all, is going to be somewhere around a 3rd-round selection. And here is where this gets genuinely fascinating for Minnesota. Thanks to the Greenard trade itself, the Vikings already have an extra 3rd-round pick sitting in their back pocket for 2027. That means they could potentially turn Jonathan Greenard into Kayvon Thibodeaux plus a rookie safety without sacrificing their own original assets. That is not a bad return at all when you frame it that way. Think about what Brian Flores could do with a 25-year-old edge rusher who still has top 5 draft pedigree, legitimate athleticism, and has already proven he can be dominant when everything clicks. Flores has built his entire defensive philosophy around creating chaos and confusion. He uses versatile athletes who can line up in multiple spots and force offensive coordinators to stay up all night with a migraine. Thibodeaux fits that profile almost perfectly. He is not a finished product. Nobody is pretending he is. But at 25 years old, entering his prime with untapped potential and a coordinator who has a genuine track record of unlocking underperforming talent, that is a gamble worth serious consideration. Former Vikings linebacker Ben Lieber even went on record recently saying he could absolutely see a scenario where Minnesota makes this move before the trade deadline. The buzz is real, and it is only going to get louder as training camp approaches. Now, before we go any further down the defensive rabbit hole, we need to address the elephant in the room. Or rather, the superstar wide receiver in the room who apparently every team in America is fantasizing about stealing from Minnesota. Justin Jefferson trade rumors are back, and they are somehow more ridiculous than ever. CBS Sports put out a piece arguing that multiple teams should be aggressively pursuing Jefferson if the Vikings ever showed any willingness to move on. The Buccaneers were named as a team that should essentially mortgage their future for the chance to land him. The Raiders were listed as a likely destination if Jefferson ever decided he wanted out of Minnesota. The proposed price tag being floated around: a first-round pick and a third-round pick. Some packages even include young receivers like Emeka Egbuka or veterans like Chris Godwin being thrown into the mix to sweeten the deal. Let's pump the brakes here for just a second and talk about reality. Justin Jefferson is under contract through 2028 on a deal that makes him one of the highest-paid receivers in football. He is not unhappy. The Vikings have not put him on the market. Nobody inside Tissot Performance Center is sitting around brainstorming ways to move their franchise cornerstone. This man owns the most receiving yards in NFL history through his first 6 seasons. More than Randy Moss, more than Jerry Rice, more than Calvin Johnson, more than Julio Jones. This is not the profile of a player whose team should be looking for an exit ramp. These trade scenarios exist for one simple reason: every team in football would absolutely love to have Justin Jefferson, and the offseason makes people do some truly creative thinking. Raiders fans are dreaming about pairing him with Fernando Mendoza and Brock Bowers. Buccaneers fans are imagining him in pewter and red. Bills fans apparently have already mentally photoshopped him catching touchdowns from Josh Allen. We understand the fantasy. It is a fun fantasy. But unless the Vikings completely collapse as an organization, which nobody who watches this team closely actually expects to happen, Justin Jefferson is staying in Minnesota. Period.